The prison doors on Draxos Station had never opened for outsiders. Orbiting the barren red planet of Draxos, the massive station looked like a jagged tooth set against the black of space. Its walls were reinforced with alloys that even the most advanced energy weapons could not pierce. Thousands of surveillance drones hovered silently, scanning every corridor, every hatch, every movement. The station had been built to contain the most dangerous criminals from across the galaxy. And now, humans Earth's prisoners were about to arrive. Commander Reyna Holt stood on the observation deck, her hands gripping the railing as she watched the docking bay lights flicker. She had been briefed in detail. The humans were considered harmless by Alliance standards. Political dissidents, low-level criminals, people who were interesting curiosities more than threats. They were to be transported under heavy guard, to ensure nothing went wrong. Yet, as Reyna stared at the incoming transport shuttle cutting through the void, she felt a tight knot in her stomach. Something told her the reports were wrong. Lieutenant Jared Kwan, her second-in-command, muttered, under his breath. "They treat humans like puppies," he said, his amber eyes narrowing as the shuttle approached. "They have no idea what they're dealing with." The shuttle docked with a hiss and a clank that echoed across the cavernous bay. Slowly, deliberately, the massive prison doors began to open. The station's guard stall, insectoid beings, with segmented limbs and glimmering carapaces, stood tensely, their multiple eyes blinking in unison as the hatch finally unlocked. Inside, the prisoners shuffled forward, bound with glowing energy restraints that hummed softly. They looked exhausted, ragged, frightened. Each step they took seemed weighed down by the stories no one would ever hear, of lost homes, lost families, and battles fought quietly on distant worlds. And yet, despite the fear, their heads were held high. There was something in their eyes that the aliens did not notice, something impossible to ignore. Courage, defiance, a spark that humans carried, no matter what chains bound them. One prisoner, a wiry man with streaks of gray in his hair, lifted his head and whispered, almost to himself, "Let's see how harmless we really are." His voice was soft, but it carried a weight that made Reyna's chest tighten. She had seen soldiers face down impossible odds before, but there was a raw, unshakable determination in him that set him apart. The aliens, supervising the prisoners, muttered to each other nervously, their chittering voices high and anxious. They had been trained to see humans as weak, incapable, and limited. It had been drilled into them that Earth's population was primitive compared to the rest of the Alliance. And yet, there was a tension now that no manual could explain, a silent warning that something was different about these people. Outside the station, the sensors flared bright red. Reyna's heart sank. A massive fleet had appeared on the outskirts of the Draxos system, ships unlike any she had seen before, sleek and angular, bristling with energy weapons that pulsed like living veins. They moved with terrifying speed, cutting through space like shards of ice. The alien guards panicked, their voices rising in rapid, clipped tones. Orders flew back and forth in a language that sounded like a swarm of angry hornets. Reyna grabbed Jared's arm. "They'll slaughter us before anyone can react," she said, her voice tight. Her training told her to stay calm, but instinct screamed that the coming moments would test everything she had ever learned about fear and courage. Jared's jaw clenched. "Then we hope the humans are as harmless as they say." His words were bitter, but there was an edge of curiosity in them, like a soldier watching an unpredictable element step onto a battlefield. The prisoners were still. They did not scream. They did not panic. They waited, calm, composed, their eyes scanning, calculating. And then Reyna realized something that sent a chill down her spine. These humans weren't waiting to be saved. They were waiting to act. The wiry gray-haired man stepped forward, his hands free now, despite the restraints. "Open the doors," he said. His voice was firm, commanding, and it carried across the docking bay with authority that no alien expected from someone they considered weak. "We know what to do." The guards froze. The prisoners were supposed to remain contained, restrained, harmless. Yet the humans stepped forward as if the rules did not exist, as if fear itself was just another obstacle. One by one, they moved with purpose, eyes focused, minds sharp. There was a rhythm to their movement, a unity that the alien officers could not read. Reyna watched, transfixed. Every detail was precise. Every glance exchanged among the prisoners carried meaning. They were planning something no one in this station had ever anticipated. And then the first shot rang out not from the humans, but from the invading fleet. Explosions rippled through the outer hull, sending tremors through the station. Lights flickered. The walls groaned under the pressure of advanced weaponry. Panic swept the alien guards like a wildfire. Yet, the humans remained calm. Their fear was there, buried beneath layers of resolve, but it did not control them. Reyna felt something stir deep inside her, a mix of awe and hope. They had been underestimated. Everyone had underestimated them. And now, as the true danger revealed itself, she knew one thing with certainty: humanity's prisoners, dismissed as weak and powerless, might be the station's only chance at survival, somewhere deep in space. The enemy fleet moved closer, unaware that the people they had mocked, studied, and confined were about to turn the galaxy upside down. And the spark of defiance in human eyes, the spark no one could extinguish, was about to ignite a storm that no alien force could contain. Reyna exhaled slowly. If anyone can survive this, she whispered to herself, it's them. And, as the prison doors slid fully open, revealing the humans in all their raw, unshakable resolve, one thought burned through the chaos: they were ready. They were not just survivors. They were humanity. The alarms on Draxo Station blared like the wails of dying stars. Red lights swept across the observation decks, flickering over walls that were meant to be unbreakable. Outside, the alien fleet pressed closer, their weapons bristling, energy lines glowing like molten veins. Every officer on the station was scrambling, issuing orders in panicked bursts. But amidst the chaos, the humans stood calm, their eyes sharp, scanning, calculating. Commander Reyna Holt felt her pulse quicken as the prisoners, Earth's harmless criminals, assembled in the central chamber. She could see it now, the subtle ways they communicated without words, the slight nods, the quick gestures. Every movement was precise, every glance carried strategy. She had underestimated them at first, just as the Alliance had. But now, she understood. They were not just survivors, they were fighters, thinkers, and problem solvers in the purest human form. The wiry gray-haired man, who had spoken first, stepped forward. "I am Jonah Reyes," he said. His voice carried over the chaos, firm and unshakable. "And we don't plan to die quietly." A younger woman with dark skin and braided hair, Talia Nugent, rolled her shoulders and cracked her knuckles. "Good, because if we wait for them to hit us, it's over. We hit first. Hard." Reyna swallowed. This wasn't training. This was instinct. Humanity had a way of thriving in chaos that no alien species seemed to understand. The outer hull shook violently as the first energy blasts from the invading fleet struck. Sparks danced along the walls. The station shuddered. Alien guards screamed in panic, stumbling over one another as they tried to seal off critical sections. Jonah's eyes flicked to the control panels. "Listen up. We need the bay doors open fully and the emergency override online. Can anyone hack these systems?" A young man, barely 19, stepped forward. Eli Navarro, wiry and quiet, cracked a small grin. "I wasn't just a pickpocket on Earth. I can crack anything." Within moments, his fingers moved across the console with astonishing speed, overriding security protocols the aliens had thought impossible to breach. Sparks flew as locks disengaged, and the heavy metal doors slid open. Outside the station, the invading ships were now fully visible, sleek, black, almost insect-like, moving in formation. Energy weapons charged, sending lethal arcs across space. The aliens watching from the control room recoiled. Their centuries of combat experience told them there was no way anyone inside could survive even a single volley. But the humans didn't panic. They moved like a single organism, each aware of the other's presence and intent. Jonah grabbed a weapon unfamiliar to Reyna, hybrid of plasma and magnetic pulse, and handed it to Talia. "Cover me," he said. "I'm going to the main console. If I'm lucky, I can reroute the station's defenses against them." Talia smirked. "Lucky? We don't need luck. We have humans." Reyna blinked. They actually believed it, and somehow, that belief gave them strength. She felt a surge of admiration she hadn't expected to feel for prisoners. Jonah sprinted through corridors lined with alien guards, dodging energy blasts and debris. Talia and Eli followed, disabling automated security drones with swift precision. Every action was calculated, every decision instinctive. It was as if they could see the pattern of the attack before it even happened. In the control room, Reyna watched in awe. The human prisoners had already figured out the core flaw in the station's designs, something no alien strategist had ever considered. By rerouting power through auxiliary conduits, they could overload the energy shields and redirect concentrated bursts at the corridors of Draxos Station echoed with the hum of energy and the distant shouts of panicked guards. Outside, the alien fleet had regrouped, their black, jagged ships moving like predators in formation. They had assumed the humans inside would be helpless, low, predictable, weak. Now, after the first strike, they hesitated, and hesitation was exactly what the humans needed. Jonah Reyes crouched behind a reinforced support beam, wiping sweat from his brow. Talia Nguyen peeked around the corner, eyes scanning the approaching threat. "They'll come at us harder this time," she said, voice steady but tight with adrenaline. "They won't make the same mistake twice." Eli Navarro adjusted his portable hacking console. "Good," he replied. "We won't let them." His fingers danced over the holographic interface, rerouting defensive turrets and disabling automated drones before the enemy could reach them. The room hummed with a tense energy, part fear, part excitement. Commander Reyna Holt moved alongside them, her gaze sharp. "We need to protect the station's core," she said. "If they breach it, everything is lost. We have to hold them off long enough for reinforcements to arrive." She glanced at the humans and realized something remarkable. Despite being labeled prisoners, despite being underestimated, they were fearless. Every move they made showed confidence and intelligence that the aliens could never predict. Jonah stood, his gray hair slightly disheveled, eyes blazing. "We can't just wait for them to hit us. We have to make them react, make them hesitate. Humans survive because we improvise, and we survive because we never give up." Talia smirked, hefting a modified plasma rifle. "Then let's remind them what we're capable of." Outside, the first wave of alien fighters darted closer. They fired energy blasts that tore through the station's outer hull, sending sparks and debris cascading through the docking bay. A section of the wall collapsed, narrowly missing a group of fleeing humans and alien guards. Jonah moved swiftly, dragging a makeshift barricade into position. He shouted instructions to other prisoners, guiding them like a commander directing an army. But this was no ordinary army. These were humans, who relied not on superior technology or brute strength, but on creativity, instinct, and an unshakable will to survive. Eli's fingers flew over the hacking console again. "I can redirect the turret fire to create a trap," he said. "They'll think the station is defenseless, but it won't be." Talia glanced at him, eyes sharp. "Do it, and make it count." Minutes passed like hours as the humans executed their plan, The first alien wave moved into the trap, guided by the predictable paths of the station's turrets. Just as the lead ships reached the expected point, automated cannons rerouted by Eli unleashed precise, concentrated fire. Explosions rocked the corridor outside, and the alien fleet's advance stalled. Reyna's breath caught. She had seen many battles, fought across multiple systems, and yet she had never witnessed strategy executed with such raw intuition. Humans didn't fight like the aliens expected. They were wild, unpredictable, and brilliant. Jonah glanced at the viewport, watching the enemy's reaction. See that? They don't understand us. They can't. That's our edge. Talia fired at a small drone creeping through the shattered hallway. We adapt faster than they do. They calculate patterns. We create them. The aliens, growing frustrated, began to shift tactics. Their ships moved in erratic formations, attempting to outflank the station, but the humans anticipated each maneuver, using a combination of improvised barricades, hacked defenses, and careful timing. The prisoners controlled the battlefield inside their station. In the control room, Reyna felt a rare emotion, awe. These humans were not just fighting, they were alive. Alive in the way only humans could be. They combine logic with intuition, courage with empathy, strategy with unpredictability. Every action was alive, dynamic, impossible for the aliens to model. And then came the first emotional blow. A section of the corridor housing civilians and injured prisoners came under heavy fire. Without hesitation, Jonah and Talia led a daring rescue. They darted through sparks and debris, shielding the injured with their own bodies, improvising makeshift stretchers, and guiding them to safer sections of the station. One young boy, barely 10, clung to Talia's hand. Will we be okay?" he asked, voice trembling. Talia smiled, a rare softness in the chaos. "We're humans," she said. "We always find a way. Trust me." The boy nodded, eyes wide, but filled with a spark of hope. Reyna realized the truth. The humans' greatest weapon was not firepower. It was their resilience, their ingenuity, their unbreakable spirit. They could be cornered, underestimated, dismissed, but they could never be defeated while they refused to give up. Eli's console beeped urgently. "They're regrouping. Second wave is coming. Bigger, faster." Jonah's jaw tightened. "Then we make the next move even smarter." He turned to the group. "Listen up. We use what they don't expect. We fight like humans, not like soldiers. They think in calculations. We think in possibilities. They'll never see it coming." Minutes later, the second wave arrived. This time, they tried to attack from multiple angles, their precision terrifying. Yet, the humans anticipated it. Turret fire, improvised traps, and clever rerouting of energy lines turned the station into a labyrinth of danger for the enemy. Explosions rocked the hull, but the humans moved like shadows, dodging, guiding, striking with perfect timing. One alien ship broke formation, trying to ram the station. Jonah raised a handheld pulse cannon, aimed carefully, and fired. The ship disintegrated midair in a brilliant flash. Talia cheered, and even Reyna allowed herself a small smile. "They're learning," she murmured, "and they're teaching us too." By the time the second wave retreated, battered and confused, the humans had not only survived, they had turned the station into a fortress of cunning strategy. The alien fleet now understood that these prisoners were not what they had been told. They were not weak. They were dangerous. They were unstoppable when pushed to the edge. Jonah exhaled, eyes glowing with determination. "We've only just begun," he said. "They'll keep coming, but we're humans, and humans always find a way." Reyna knew, deep in her bones, that the tide of this battleland, perhaps the fate of the station, was changing. Humanity, underestimated and dismissed, was beginning to prove why no species should ever count them out. And somewhere deep in the void of space, The enemy fleet hesitated, realizing that the harmless humans they had mocked were already rewriting the rules of engagement. Asterisk. The station shuddered under the weight of the enemy's assault. Draxos Station had survived the first waves, but the alien fleet was relentless. Outside, black ships carved streaks of energy across the void, aiming to crush the humans inside. Commander Reyna Holt watched the viewports, heart pounding. Every pulse of the enemy weapons was a reminder that this was no ordinary fight. Yet she felt something remarkable. The humans weren't panicking. Not a single one. Jonah Reyes stood at the center of the command hub, scanning the holographic display of enemy movements. His gray hair glinted under the emergency lights, and his eyes were sharp, calculating. "They think they've seen everything we can do," he said. "They haven't seen anything yet." Talia Nguyen adjusted her pulse rifle and glanced at Eli Navarro, who was already hacking the station's auxiliary systems. "What's the plan?" she asked. Jonah smirked, a flash of defiance lighting his face. "We turned the station itself into a weapon." Reyna blinked. "What, you mean? Ram them?" Jonah shook his head. "Not ram. We fight smarter. The station has systems they don't understand. We'll use the environment against them. Make them overreach. Force mistakes." Eli's fingers flew across the console. "I can redirect shield energy to create corridors of concentrated force. If they follow the wrong path, it'll destroy their ships." Talia grinned. "I like it. Humans think outside the box." The alien guards, watching from behind, whispered among themselves in shock. They had trained for centuries to fight every conceivable enemy. Yet these humans, prisoners, criminals, people considered harmless, were rewriting the rules. Outside, the enemy fleet adjusted their formation, trying to predict the humans' next move. Their triangular ships moved in synchronized patterns, weapons locked. But the humans inside Draxos Station were unpredictable. They didn't follow patterns. They created them. Jonah activated the station's auxiliary energy conduits, sending glowing streams of power through the corridors. Red beams crisscrossed the docking bays, forming a maze-like trap. "Now," he shouted, "lead them in." Talia and a small group of humans sprinted to the main bay, drawing enemy ships toward the energy corridors. Explosions erupted as the enemy followed blindly, striking walls that were rigged to redirect energy pulses. Ships faltered, shields overloaded, weapons jammed. The first wave of attackers was caught completely off guard. Reyna's jaw dropped. They're using the station against them." Jonah nodded. "Humans adapt. We improvise. That's our edge." Eli's console beeped urgently. "More incoming. This is bigger than the last wave." Jonah clenched his fists. "Good. The bigger they are, the easier it is to outsmart them." The humans moved with precision, guiding alien guards and trapped civilians alike to safer corridors. Every step was calculated, every action intentional. They weren't just surviving, they were controlling the battlefield. One young woman, Amara Lee, ducked under a falling support beam, quickly attaching an energy pulse detonator to A. The station trembled again as another wave of alien ships surged forward. Outside, the void was alive with glowing energy weapons, the black silhouettes of enemy vessels cutting through the stars. Every sensor on Draxos Station screamed alarms. Yet, inside, the humans moved with calm precision. Commander Reyna Holt couldn't tear her eyes away from the scene unfolding in the corridors. They weren't just defending, they were orchestrating a symphony of chaos, turning the station itself into a weapon. Jonah Reyes crouched near a junction, eyes darting across the holographic display of enemy positions. His gray hair stuck to his forehead with sweat. "We can't just hold them off anymore," he muttered. "We need to hit their command center. Take out the brain of their fleet." Talia Nguyen smirked, her braids swinging as she loaded a pulse rifle. "And how exactly do you plan to do that? Half of those ships are faster than anything we've ever seen, and they'll vaporize us the moment we try to attack." Jonah's lips curled in a determined smile. We improvise. We use what they don't expect. That's the human edge. Eli Navarro's fingers flew over the console, hacking the station's auxiliary systems with skill that no alien could match. If we can redirect the station's energy pulse through the docking bay channels, we can create a corridor that will punch straight into their fleet's formation, he explained. It's risky. One miscalculation, and it could destroy us all. Then we calculate while moving, Jonah replied. Humans survive because we adapt. That's how we win. Reyna felt a chill as she realized the truth. The humans inside the station had become more than just prisoners. They were a living strategy, unpredictable and unstoppable. Their unity and courage were turning the battle into something the enemy could not anticipate. Outside, the alien fleet advanced cautiously, wary now of the humans' clever tactics. The first few ships had already been destroyed by improvised traps and energy corridors. The aliens, confident at first, were beginning to panic. They had never faced an enemy that used creativity over sheer firepower, and that panic was exactly what the humans needed. Jonah led a small team through the main conduit to the station's energy core. Talia and Eli flanked him, guiding other humans and alien guards toward safer areas. Each step was calculated, every movement precise. The corridors were a maze of glowing energy conduits and sparking panels, but the humans moved like a single organism. Intuitive and fearless. Almost there, Jonah whispered, scanning the final access point to the core. Eli, are the energy channels ready? Almost, Eli replied, eyes glued to the console. Just a few more adjustments. Done. The pulse is locked in. Once we fire, it'll hit their fleet's command ships and overload their systems. It's now or never. Talia's fingers rested lightly on her pulse rifle. Let's remind them why humans are never harmless. The humans surged forward, taking cover behind panels and debris as the station's systems charged. Outside, the alien fleet moved into the trap, lured by the apparent vulnerability of the station. They had expected weakness, hesitation, surrender. Instead, they were about to be hit by a force no one had predicted. Reyna watched from the observation deck, heart pounding. They're going to try it, she whispered. They're actually going to do it. The pulse fired. Brilliant streams of energy surged down the docking bay channels, guided by Eli's precise manipulations. The beams punched into the enemy fleet with devastating effect. Ships flared, shields overloaded, and weapons systems jammed. Explosions lit the void like stars collapsing. The alien fleet faltered, their command vessels paralyzed, their formations thrown into chaos. Jonah's team cheered, but there was no time to celebrate. Keep moving, he shouted. The pulse works, but it won't last long. We need to capitalize now. Talia led a small strike team through the corridors, hitting enemy boarding parties with precision and efficiency. They used makeshift weapons, improvised traps, and careful timing to turn the enemy's strength into weakness. Every human fought not just with courage, but with intelligence and instinct. Eli monitored the energy channels, adjusting pulse intensity and rerouting shields, as needed. They're trying to recover, he shouted, but it's too late. They can't respond fast enough. Reyna felt awe and fear intertwining. She had seen many battles, but she had never witnessed humans operate like this. Every step, every shot, every improvisation reflected a species that refused to die quietly, a species that thrived on adversity and adapted faster than any machine or calculation. In the docking bay, Jonah faced a final squad of enemy operatives. He raised his pulse cannon and fired, the beam striking true. The enemy disintegrated, leaving the humans victorious yet unyielding. Around them, injured prisoners and alien guards alike watched in amazement. Humanity had not only survived, they had turned the battle decisively in their favor. Reyna stepped forward, her voice shaking slightly. I Never imagined this. You've turned the tide. Jonah glanced at her, eyes fierce and alive. We're humans. We survive. We adapt. We fight back. And we always find a way. Talia laughed, breathless and exhilarated. They thought we were harmless. They were wrong, completely wrong. Outside, the alien fleet regrouped, battered, and confused. They had underestimated humans, counted them as weak, dismissed them entirely. Now they faced a force that was unpredictable, intelligent, and unyielding. Reyna knew the truth in her bones. The humans inside Draxo Station were not just survivors. They were a force the galaxy had never seen before. They were proof that courage, creativity, and determination could outmatch even the most advanced technology. Jonah surveyed the viewport, watching the enemy retreat. "This is only the beginning," he said. "They'll come again, but we'll be ready." Humanity always is. Reyna exhaled slowly, eyes wide with admiration and disbelief. The prisoners, the humans, no one expected, had done what generations of soldiers and strategists thought impossible. They had turned defense into offense, chaos into victory, and weakness into strength. And in the endless darkness of space, the enemy fleet finally realized the terrifying truth. The humans they had dismissed as harmless were already rewriting the rules of battle. Somewhere, deep in the void, one thought burned brighter than any laser or explosion. Humanity could not be predicted, controlled, or defeated. They survived. They adapted. They won. The station trembled violently. Alarms blared, echoing through every corridor. Outside, the alien fleet had returned, larger and faster than ever. Their black ships moved like predators, pulsing with energy weapons aimed directly at Draxo's station. The humans inside braced themselves. They had fought waves of enemies before, but this was different. This was the culmination, the moment where every instinct, every strategy, and every ounce of courage would be tested. Commander Reyna Holt's jaw was tight as she watched from the observation deck. Her hands clenched the railing. "This is it," she muttered. "Everything we've done so far. None of it matters if they breach the core." Jonah Reyes stood at the command hub, eyes sharp, scanning the holographic displays of enemy positions. "We've held them off," he said, voice low but firm. "But they've adapted. We need something more." Talia Nguyen checked her pulse. Rifleman gave a small nod. "Then we give them what they don't expect. Humans survive because we don't play by their rules." Eli Navarro's fingers flew across the console, rerouting auxiliary power to the station's turrets, energy shields, and pulse corridors. "I can overload their weapons if they cluster too close," he said. "But I need someone to distract them, get them where I want them." Jonah's gray eyes glinted. "That's our chance. Talia, you and I draw them in. The rest set the trap." Reyna's heart pounded. The plan was audacious, reckless, and brilliant all at once. These human Zerf's prisoners were about to gamble everything on ingenuity and instinct. The alien fleet surged forward, firing in coordinated volleys. Sparks danced along the station's hull, and the walls groaned under the pressure. Yet the humans did not falter. They moved like shadows, swift, precise, and unpredictable. Jonah and Talia darted through the corridors, luring enemy boarding parties toward the carefully calculated trap zones. Energy corridors flared, turrets activated at the perfect moment, and alien ships found themselves funneling into areas they could not predict. Eli monitored every pulse, every voltage fluctuation, ensuring the trap functioned flawlessly. "Now," he shouted. The station shuddered as the energy corridors activated, sending beams of concentrated force through the enemy formation. Ships exploded, shields overloaded, and weapons fried in mid-fire. Reyna exhaled, heart racing. The humans were controlling the battlefield, but the alien fleet was relentless. More ships swooped in, faster, smarter, trying to flank the station and breach the core. The pressure was immense. The station groaned, as if protesting, warning of imminent collapse. Jonah and Talia led another squad to intercept. They moved with calculated precision, dodging energy blasts, guiding civilians and alien guards to safety. Every shot fired was deliberate, every movement calculated. Humans didn't rely on raw power, they relied on intelligence, adaptability, and courage. One young man, Marco Silva, spotted a weak point in the enemy formation. "There," he shouted. "If we overload that junction, it could disable half their fleet." Jonah glanced at him and nodded. "Do it." Marco activated a makeshift device, a jury-rigged pulse detonator, and sent a concentrated energy wave racing. Draxo Station hung in the void like a battered jewel, scarred but unbroken. The alien fleet had retreated, their black ships scattered and damaged, but the humans inside knew this was only a temporary respite. Commander Reinhold moved among them, heart heavy yet proud. She could feel the pulse of determination that radiated from every human prisoner, the spark that no alien technology could ever extinguish. Jonah Reyes leaned over a console, surveying the holographic displays of the retreating fleet. "They'll try again," he said quietly. "They always do. But this time, we've shown them that humans can't be calculated, predicted, or controlled." Talia Nguyen smirked, wiping soot from her cheek. "Let them come. They think in formulas and probabilities. We think in possibilities." Eli Navarro adjusted a series of energy conduits, his fingers flying across the console. "I've stabilized the station's shields and pulse corridors. If they return, they'll walk into another trap." Reyna stepped closer to Jonah. "You've done the impossible," she said, voice barely above a whisper. "But how did all of you turn the tide so completely?" Jonah's gray eyes met hers. "It's simple. We didn't fight like they expected. We fought like humans. That means courage, adaptability, and unpredictability. No system, no algorithm, no strategy can anticipate that. The station's corridors were filled with humans, moving with purpose, some treating injured civilians, some repairing systems, others just catching their breath after the chaos. Among them, a young boy who had been saved by Talia earlier clutched a small toy spaceship, eyes wide. Are we really safe now?" Talia knelt beside him, placing a hand gently on his shoulder. "Safer now," she said, smiling. "But remember this. Humans never stay down. We always find a way." Reyna watched as the humans worked together, their coordination seamless despite having no formal military training. They shared knowledge instinctively, adapted to changing threats without hesitation, and improvised solutions with creativity that no alien intelligence could anticipate. The aliens had counted them as harmless, dismissed them as weak, and in doing so, had underestimated the most dangerous trait of all, human ingenuity. Jonah turned toward the main viewport. "They'll regroup, they'll analyze their mistakes. But even then, they won't predict what comes next." Eli looked up from his console, a faint grin on his face. "They'll think we're weak. They'll try to calculate our response. But humans don't work like that." Talia laughed softly. "They can calculate patterns, predict behavior, but they can't calculate courage. They can't calculate desperation. They can't calculate hope." Reyna felt a lump in her throat. She had seen bravery before, soldiers fighting with discipline and training. But this was something else. This was raw, instinctive, brilliant. Humanity had turned weakness into strategy, fear into determination, and survival into victory. Suddenly, a warning light blinked on one of the consoles. Reyna's stomach tightened. "What is it?" she asked. Eli's fingers flew across the controls. "It's not a threat," he said, voice tense. "It's something in the alien fleet's response. They're not just retreating, they're panicking." Jonah leaned over. "Panicking, yes." Eli said. They've lost coordination. They've lost confidence. And it's not just because we fought back, it's because we did it in a way they couldn't anticipate. They can't comprehend humans thinking outside their rules. Reyna's eyes widened. You mean, they're scared of us? Jonah nodded. They always underestimate humans, and when we prove we're more than they expect, it terrifies them. Talia's grin widened. They thought Earth's prisoners were harmless. They thought wrong. Completely wrong. The humans in the station moved with renewed purpose. They repaired what was damaged, reinforced defenses, and prepared for the inevitable return of the enemy fleet. But there was a confidence now, a spark that no alien could break. They had faced the impossible and survived. They had fought with courage, with creativity, and with unity, and, in doing so, they had claimed something far more powerful than a simple victory: respect and fear in the minds of their enemies. Reyna felt a profound sense of admiration. These were not trained soldiers. These were prisoners, discarded by their own species, underestimated by the galaxy. And yet they had turned every disadvantage into an advantage, every limitation into a weapon. Jonah placed a hand on her shoulder. This is why humans survive, he said. Not because we're the strongest or the fastest. Not because we have the best technology. We survive because we think, we feel, we adapt, and we never give up. And when the odds are against us, we rise higher than anyone expects. Eli added, they'll remember this. The galaxy will never look at humans the same way again. Talia looked out the viewport at the dark void where the alien fleet had fled. They thought we were harmless, she said softly, almost to herself. And they were wrong. Completely wrong. The station was quiet now, the worst of the battle over. Humans moved among the injured and the frightened, offering help, guidance, and reassurance. Every action, every word, was a testament to the resilience of their species. Reyna looked around at the humans, at the determination in their eyes, the courage in their hearts, and the brilliance in their minds. She realized something that no alien commander, no technological advantage, and no mathematical calculation could ever comprehend. Humanity's power lay not in weapons or strategy alone, but in their very nature. Their creativity, courage, empathy, and relentless determination made them unstoppable. Jonah's voice cut through her thoughts. We've survived today, and we'll survive tomorrow, because we're humans, and humans always find a way. Talia laughed softly. Let them. Remember that. Let every fleet, every species, every enemy know that underestimating humans is the gravest mistake they can make. Reyna nodded, swallowing hard. She had seen it firsthand now. Humans, even those deemed weak, even those considered dangerous only in the most minor ways, could outthink, outfight, and outlast any enemy that dared challenge them. And somewhere, deep in the infinite void, across the stars and the galaxy, one truth shone brighter than any weapon or technology. Humanity was unpredictable, unstoppable, and utterly remarkable. Asterisk, the stars outside Draxos Station were silent witnesses to the aftermath of battle. Smoke trailed from the battered hull, sparks still danced from shattered conduits, and distant alien ships limped away, beaten and confused. Inside, the humans moved with calm determination. They had survived impossible odds, turned chaos into strategy, and defied every expectation the galaxy had ever placed upon them. Commander Reyna Holt walked through the main corridor, surveying the scene. Injured humans were being tended by fellow prisoners, consoles were repaired with astonishing speed, and the energy channels hummed with renewed stability. Every human in the station carried a glow of triumph in their eyes, a mixture of exhaustion and exhilaration. She had seen countless battles in her lifetime, but nothing like this. These were Earth's prisoners, the ones the galaxy had dismissed, and yet they had done what seemed impossible. Jonah Reyes stood at the observation deck, hands gripping the rail as he surveyed the retreating alien fleet. His gray hair was matted with sweat, his uniform scorched, but his eyes shone with fierce pride. "They'll think twice before underestimating humans again," he said quietly. Talia Nguyen leaned beside him, pulse rifle slung casually over her shoulder. "Underestimate us. They'll never make that mistake again, ever." Eli Navarro adjusted a console, fingers still flying across controls, ensuring every system was stable. "We've turned their fear into our advantage. They can't calculate what humans do next. They'll never predict our creativity, our courage, our unity." Reyna approached them, all etched into her face. "You've done more than survive. You've redefined what it means to be human in the galaxy. The aliens, they underestimated you, and that cost them everything." Jonah looked at her, a faint smile on his lips. "It's not just about fighting. It's about thinking, feeling, adapting. Humans survive because we're unpredictable, because we refuse to surrender, and because we rise when others fall." Across the station, small groups of humans laughed and cheered quietly, celebrating survival while tending to the injured. Among them was young Amara Lee, guiding a group of terrified civilians through a repaired corridor. "See," she said softly, more to herself than anyone else. "We're stronger than they thought." In the command hub, Reyna watched as the energy channels pulsed steadily, now a symbol of human ingenuity. The alien fleet, once confident and calculated, was scattered, their formations broken, their weapons compromised. For the first time, humanity had turned the tide of a conflict, not with overwhelming force, but with intelligence, creativity, and sheer courage. Jonah's voice broke the quiet. "We did it. Not because we had the best ships, not because we had superior weapons. We did it because we think, we adapt, we never give up. That's humanity." Talia smirked. "They counted us as prisoners, as weak. And now, we're the ones writing the story," Eli added, a faint grin on his face. "They'll tell tales of this battle in every system, how the humans of Earth prisoners, dismissed, underestimated, fought back with nothing but their wits and courage, and won." Reyna felt a lump in her throat. These humans had done more than survive. They had inspired her, shocked the galaxy, and reminded everyone that even those who seem powerless can shape destiny. Jonah glanced at the viewport eyes,